if you're coming to Quebec, you're not coming in the rest of the Canada. It's very different from how things work over here. For like 6 months almost, I had no real friends or anything, but I grew over there. I learned how their culture works, how the system works. My trajectory has been slightly all over the place. So in India, I went to almost like 4 colleges, from my junior college to like I have 2 degrees. One, and I graduated in psychology, and then like because I was so interested in philosophy, I took like 1 year extra and did my graduation in philosophy. At the same time, I developed interest in like I started learning French as a hobby, and then later on I developed interest in it and I started teaching part-time gradually. So along with those degrees that I was doing, I was teaching. I was very involved in that field too. And after I graduated from my second degree, that was philosophy, which was completely online because of COVID, I got a job at, so I was also working as a part-time French and psychology tutor, and I got a job at a company called Q-Kids and Simply Body Talk that specialized in body language and corporate training and training for kids. So me specifically, I was associated and with the kids camp group where we used to teach kids about emotional intelligence. We used to develop courses about how to be more observant, more emotionally intelligent, all those kind of soft skills that kids need to learn, including public speaking and the aspects involved in that. So I used to train and develop curriculum for them. And I was supposed to come to Canada right after my second degree, but because of COVID, it got delayed by a year, and that's how I landed in this job that I was working. And during the job too, I like trained people and children across US and Canada. So that was a aspect that was about my background. And yeah, after that, like since like COVID got a little better, I sort of came here. In Canada, as you know, there are two things. There's university and there's college. Specifically, I am in Quebec right now. So Quebec has something called a CEGEP, which is almost like a vocational or a diploma school that you could attend and go directly into the workforce and then decide whenever you want to do your master's. So I'm not in a university. I'm in a CEGEP, like a college, pursuing my DEC, that is like a diploma. It's a French version in Special Care Counseling. Now, it's a 3-year course, which is very unlikely for me to go after my bachelor's, and it is sort of different because a lot of people I'm studying with are right out of high school. But why I chose to not do my master's and take this program instead is because in India, even if I did my master's, it was all about my interest. I wanted to work in the field and not like be a clinical observer of the field, like especially my field of psychology. So I wanted to be in counseling in like properly instead of just like gaining clinical knowledge about it. And in India, it is very, very clinical right now. And we don't have the enough resources and platforms or communities that are talking about it, that are giving the right kind of platform. Psychology, I was sure that I wanted to do. I think I decided and I told my father about it when I was in 8th grade. So it was like back then that I decided that I want to do something in this field. With children, I think as I started working, I worked like my first initial jobs were at activity centers and in Mulund. So there I used to work with kids. I used to teach them French. Some of the kids that I had were 2.5 years old. So while I started teaching, I worked with like kids as young as them to like adults, proper middle-aged 50 plus adults. So when I started working with these kids, I learned how interesting it is and how the way they develop, and that sort of caught my interest right away. And I think that's what I've carried. Of course, now I have different interests and I like areas that I'm exploring, and this course is giving me the opportunity. I can choose where I want to work in those internships, but still my soft corner is sort of uh, working with kids. Yeah. So when I started my research about I thought about coming here, like of course I was drawn towards these big universities that I want to go do my masters. But then what I found that in Canada, average age of where people do their masters is 28. So which is very different from what we have in India. Like by the time I came here, my friends are clinical psychologists now, at 23. So that was I don't know, it kind of shook all my beliefs. Then I started reading more about it, researching more about it, in the sense that why is that people take a break or go to into the workforce and then come back. And there I found out that it has a lot of benefits, because here a lot of programs are master integrated PhDs. So once you get into a master's program, especially for my field, I'll say, once you get into a master's program, you sort of continue and do your PhD and get out. And in India too, PhD is a very common phenomenon for that age. So then it made me realize that yeah, it makes more sense that I spent 3 years. Of course, my fees and everything is a little high, and we will, I think, discuss it as we proceed. But now this is going to give me a very good base on deciding whether, if, because first of all, masters cost a lot of money, a lot of money. So that, and also that, is it worth it? Just me stepping from a very naive, low practical background into just throwing myself into it. So I think this is a very good middle ground, and that's why I thought I will go with this kind of course and then do the masters. The biggest cultural shock was in while I landed in Toronto, which was okay. For when I got in and the immigration officer saw what I do, and I started speaking to him, and he sort of tested me, my French, and as I spoke to him, his attitude changed, because I saw another person right before me in the line. He was so rude to them that they were all kinds of things, and as soon as this shift in how people treat you just because you speak the language was whoa, it's not just India, it's not just India or Mumbai where you speak in Marathi and you get things done. No, even when you're here, it is there. And apart from that, I think a lot of things, in Montreal specifically, I found that it's a European culture. So how slow the life is, especially for me, somebody coming from a city like ours, like Mumbai or something, I found it very slow. And especially with winters, with it getting dark at 3 in the afternoon and 4, my first 6 months were crazy. Montreal is way more cheaper than Toronto. For example, let's say the rents. A friend of mine is paying $850 a month for $850 a month, and it's an average range in rent in Toronto. If you're renting a private room in an apartment, not even an apartment, is somewhere from 700 to 700 onwards. Here, depends where you live. I live in prime downtown, where my college is 2 minutes from here, and it's 500, 550 for a private room. So you see, and the 700 rent that I'm talking about is not downtown, it's in the suburbs. So that is the kind of difference. So if you rent a private room in, let's say, downtown Toronto, um, 800, 850, 900. That's where, and 900 you get 2 bedrooms here in Montreal if you go a little further. And the best part about Montreal is nothing is too far. So everything is literally, for me, if I want to go from this street to next street, I can take the metro too. It's the same, and I can walk that distance too. So every, like, from one end to another end is hardly like 40 minutes. Hardly. So nothing is too far in Montreal, and that's why even if you want to spend cheap on the rent, you can live way back wherever you want to, like get a spacious house for good price, and then you can still be that way. So the need for my field job is so much in Canada that people hire, because there are a lot of community centers. Canada is a socialist country, and a lot of people are on welfare. So social benefits people keep getting, and they need people like us to facilitate them to get their benefits. So that's why for us, jobs here in Quebec, Montreal, if you work as a respite worker is basically where it's like a daycare where let's say children with autism, parents drop them there for some time so they can have some time off, and we take care of them, we make them do activities. So all these jobs are tax free. So whatever I earn, so let's say $17 an hour, I don't have to pay tax on it. So these jobs are tax free, whatever I get into. That's one benefit of it. So even they hire students as respite workers. So I could get my field job right away if I want to. After I graduate, so what all my college professors, where we do our third stash is our internship. So all of my last semester is just internship. So I end up, basically that's their protocol, that wherever I get placed and do my internship, I end up getting hired over there. So it's, for my course, it's almost like before you graduate you sort of know where you're working. And salary is start from somewhere around $35, $32 an hour to depends on your experience and your expertise and all those kind of things. So first of all, if you're coming to Quebec, you're not coming in the rest of the Canada. It's very different from how things work over here. Second, be like slightly open-minded that you're gonna have to assimilate in the culture, and if you just stay rigid that I will stand by my culture, I will be not assimilate in the culture, then that's really going to be difficult for you to adjust and integrate the society that you're coming into. And that's, I think, don't look for comfort zones. So for me too, like now I'm making friends that are in my comfort zone, but where I used to work, I used to be the only Indian person over there. So it was really uncomfortable. For like 6 months almost, I had no real friends or anything, but I grew over there. I learned how their culture works, how the system works, and it gave me a lot of that now I feel I want to integrate, but with having this sort of comfort zone, which is okay, but you need to feel a little more uncomfortable in the beginning, and I think that has helped me. Also, like for me, I've changed 3 apartments. Just make sure you find one good apartment and stick to it. I think that's about it.